It's still not common knowledge that you cannot shift your behavior without shifting your identity. The swift shift is the identity shift. It's still not common knowledge that you cannot shift your behavior without shifting your identity. You can reverse engineer it by saying, okay, I want to, I don't know, from my daily or weekly workout routine, I want to now move into a different kind of workout routine because I'm going more for stamina, more for looks, more for, I don't know, upper body, something like that. You know, it's a very practical example. Then you can just say, okay, I'm going to create myself a new routine, which will shift my physical appearance over the course of 3 to 6 months. And the moment your physical appearance shifts, your identity always shifts because you hold yourself differently. That's why physical training does so much to the identity. But that's one way to reverse engineer it, and you go via the body. Just mindset by thinking, okay, I'm going to affirm that every day and I'm going to visualize, blah, blah. That's not going to do it for you. It's not going over the years, yes, but it's a very slow shifting. And I realized most people don't have the awareness. It's not common knowledge, and not even in the consultant business, in the advisory business, where people really go into leadership, into organizational development, into all kinds of scaling situations. It's still crest of the wave wisdom and not even state of the art. You need 3,000 repetitions to do it via the mind, 300 to do it via emotions, aka habits, and 3 if you go via the body. But via the body means you have to create deep new meaning in the body. And you all know, think about this quickly. In the last 3, 5, 6 years, like recent, but not very recent, like a bigger time frame, let's say 5 years. Think of one event where you felt something for the first time, something beautiful, something horrible. Somebody died, somebody got born, so you finally kissed that one person, and you have a new feeling in your body that you never had before, but like hallmark events. That is when your identity shifts, because suddenly you can believe something that you didn't believe before. It changes your whole being. And that's what you want to create when you want to really change yourself. You want identity shifts. Now, how do you get there? That's what we're doing today. What is identity? Our identity is the perspective we look at ourselves and our cluster of identifications. That's the easiest way to frame it. I was always very identified with my work. The moment I created this, because it came through my body, it was like, how the heck am I not supposed to be identified with it? But that means my identity is fully based on my work. And only recently I managed to get a little bit out of it. Also, you know, I created a framework that works from birth to death and beyond. It's a bit hard to step out of that. It's like stepping out of life. But I realized there's other lenses and how to look at them without automatically trying to tie it into my perspective, etc., etc. So your identifications are usually your looks, your body, everything you've ever achieved, your family systems, your friends, all that makes up identifications. And the cluster of your identifications is your identity. And the identity is the way you see yourselves in context to everybody else and your surroundings. The thing is, the difference between identity and essence, and I'm giving you a beautiful question to take home. Your essence is what you are in your core. It's like I always say, this bright light that shines from our center, basically, the spark of life that we all hold. And wherever you have that located in your body, when you think, where is the spark of light? Some people say it's in my heart. Some say it's in my center, like behind my sternum. Some people say it's in my gut. Some people have it higher up in their mind, behind the third eye. But wherever you think that is for you, if you feel into that, that is your essence. If you have your essence, that's not your identity. The identity is what your ego makes out of your essence. It's like the shell around it. Your identity can shift, your essence can't shift. But you can feel your essence in that spark that you all carry, that all of us carry, and you can feel into that, and you can give it words, 3 words. Find 3 words. What am I? Who am I? And it's adjectives. One of my words is warm. If I feel into myself, I feel I'm warm. The emotional kind of warmth. Sometimes you have 3 words and then 3 years later the words change. That's not because your essence changed, but it's because you have gone through more layers, more into your depth, and you realize, oh, that one word, that was actually more identity than essence. And now we look at why sustainable personal change requires an identity shift, an embodied identity shift, not just a thinking or behavior change. And we look at neuroscience, cognitive science, and developmental psychology in that order. So, neuroscience. Human behavior is mainly driven by implicit subcortical systems. That's the limbic system, the basal ganglia, insula, and not by conscious thought. So you have, that's what I call impulse reaction. Your behavior is not driven by how smart you are. Your behavior is driven by your instincts. That's the impulse reaction. And then if you're smart and you actually have time to react, and it's not supposed to be something that is actually now, because panic, then you might use the space between your ears and come up with a better idea how to behave. In neuroscience, if you want to change your brain structure, that means you have to do certain things. You have to change your way of thinking as a physical brain structure, literally. Cognitive reframing activates the prefrontal cortex, which is slow, effortful, and it collapses under stress. That's why I always say mental methods are, my God, boring. It takes forever. And it does not guarantee that it actually is going to work. So without somatic re-encoding, the old identity-based patterns just dominate automatically. That's why it's so hard to change yourself truly. So in neuroscience, you need to do the somatic re-encoding in your whole, and not just, neuroscience is not just brain, it's the whole nervous system, anything that's polyvagal theories, practices, etc. And very quick thing for you guys, there's one practice I'm going to give you that immediately gives you the feeling of safety when things become unstable. And it's if you take these 2 fingers, the peace sign, and you have your forefinger in front of your ear and your middle finger behind your ear, and you do this. You just rub up and down here for 2-3 minutes each side. That is where your vagal nerve is running. You can do this here and the other side. And the other thing is that down here, just with your fingers, from your ear, down your neck, the side where this muscle cinder is here, that's the other area. So this, like 2-3 minutes, the ears, you can also do it at the same time, but it's better to do one after the other. And then you do this here. This is giving you instant physical safety when things are weird. So if something happens, you get insecure, you get nervous, go to the bathroom, or if you're in a place, you turn off the camera and do this, it's going to stabilize you. That's neuroscience applied to the body. Then cognitive science. The term is predictive processing. The brain operates through hierarchical self models. That's why we have developmental models. So the thing is, the brain we have a picture of ourselves, and it has a hierarchy towards everything else and within us. Better than yesterday. Not as good as I wanted to be. Yesterday was in better shape. The identity actually functions as a high-level prior. A prior that's a term, shaping perception, emotion, and action. So the identity is it's like a filter. Everything that we perceive, if it doesn't match the picture we have of ourselves, it's either triggering us or we just put it away. It's not important. So the model that we have of ourselves, the identity we have, is filtering all the information that comes towards us. Anybody listening to John Vervaeke, that's what he means with perception. You have these glasses, and the only thing you can do with the glasses that you look through the world, you look at the world through these glasses. And the only thing you can do is you can take the glasses off and say, oh yeah, I'm wearing these glasses. And with those I look at the world, but you can't lift your gaze because without these glasses, everything's blurry. Everybody wears these glasses. Everybody has their own perception, and then you can cluster these glasses, and that gets us into developmental psychology, because the stage that you currently embody can be describes the, let's say, color of the glasses you're currently wearing. That's why a Spiral Dynamics or a Ken Wilber, they don't use numbers, they use colors. You're in teal, or you're in orange, or you're in green. New thoughts or behaviors that contradict the existing identity are resisted or only temporarily adopted. That's why you get off the couch and you train, but then if you've been on the couch for 2 weeks, you're kind of sloppy with going back into your routine. You're resisting. Classic. And the lasting change only occurs when the embodied self model itself shifts. That's the way how we look at ourselves. When I look at myself as I'm not the person who has this body shape anymore, I'm not the person who has this body shape. If you believe that thoroughly, then you will do that, but only if you see yourself like that. So in developmental psychology, human development progresses through qualitative stages. We said that, not linear knowledge accumulation. So knowledge accumulation is being smart. That's what we learn in school, in university, in any kind of training. You get smarter and smarter, and you have your certificates and you put them in the back of your desk, and then people think I'm great. Doesn't work like that. That's not an identity shift. What actually might be, if you've just done your master's degree, Exhibit A, it might give you a push into believing that you actually have achieved something. There is two things in life, two rites of passage that we go through in our society. One is what we call the A levels, Matura, Abitur. Nobody cares about your actual grades. It's just the biggest stress test that you can do in your life so far at that age. The grades basically allow you to understand how good you're handling stress. In areas of life that you have realized you want to kind of have part of your identity, so you pick, I don't know, math and Latin and English and whatever biology or whatever you want to do, because you kind of align with that, but it's just a stress test. Nobody cares about your A levels. And the second one is any kind of diploma thereafter. If it's a master's degree, or if it's a certain level of, how do you call it? Education training, if it's more of an applied thing. But there is these rites of passage, and even though they are marked as a cognitive knowledge thing, they actually give you a credibility in holding complexity, because a stress test is always a lot of complexity is happening, and you have to hold it all the same. You have to keep it in your mind. You have to, how do I remember these things? All of these, I'm supposed to learn all this. Or I am supposed, much better, for example, if it's some kind of test that involves anything physical. In developmental psychology, these embodied skills, they become bigger, they become more capable, and still you might fail the stupid exam. That's what complexity, what's the word? Tolerance, higher complexity tolerance, that's what it gets you, that you do not panic, that you can still think straight and still understand, okay, I actually need this and this. And the behavior change without identity integration leads to overload, regression, or burnout. So anybody who is tired and exhausted a lot, that means you ask a lot of behavioral change of yourself, but you're not there yet physically, somatically. And then you get overwhelmed, and then you get tired, and then you feel like, stars, this is such an exhausting phase of my life. And to stay easeful and faithful and do it anyways, that is only possible when you can hold the complexity through the exhaustion and through the fear of the identity shift. So what happens there is in development that what was once subject, that's like automated thing, becomes object, which means reflected and integrated. I could see, oh, I'm going through the same loop. Last time I reacted like this. I'm not going to repeat this. My automatism wants to, but I'm holding myself accountable here. I'm not doing this again. So we went through neuroscience, what fires together, wires together, etc. Cognitive science, the whole kind of thinking yourself into a new identity and then making sure that you be reminded all the time of the new identity. So it kind of brainwashes you. And the developmental psychology, where the further you grow in your social emotional embodied capacities, the more complexity you can hold and the more you can watch yourself while you shift identity and foster that with a little bit more grace than you might have done when you were younger. And I wish you, well, a swift shift, as the session is called, into whatever you want to shift, and the patience and the grace to hold it whenever it's bumpy. Okay, thank you.